Hey guys, how you doing? It's Andy Elliott. I want to say hi to you. I've been in the car business for over 20 plus years. I got in when I was 18. I'm 39 this year, and I will tell you I have been through it all. And I can tell you the car business is unbelievable, and I believe that we're sitting in an era right now that's there for the taking. As I train dealerships currently, and as I've been in dealerships for the last 20 years plus, I see all these stores that are asleep at the wheel. You see, the car business takes one thing to make it. It takes self-investment. And if you're not willing to self-invest, you're not gonna make it. And what I wanna do, and my goal is, as I've been a GM for the last 5-6 years running a store, my salesmen, the guys that I've invested in 3 to 4 times a week, plugged into them, taught them negotiations, training, basically A to Z on sales. These guys are all making $10,000 plus a month. They love their job, they're happy. Guys, not to mention some of the guys are making $30,000 a month. But when you're first getting in, you're not gonna make that type of money. It's not gonna happen until you self-invest. And if you're not willing to self-invest, then I can give you the knowledge, but if you don't execute it, there's nothing that can happen. So I'm gonna share with you a little bit of a timeline in my life so you can see what I've been through, because I'm gonna tell you what I'm starting. Right now, I'm gonna start a training program. I'm gonna start putting daily videos out on YouTube that are free, that cost nothing, that are for people that are at home, that have wives, that have kids, that are 18 years old and don't wanna go to college, for people that go to college. 80% of all millionaires and billionaires, they don't even have a degree. People that decide they want to get in, have a great life, have fun, and make really good money. So at the end of the time, you see the guys trade their time for money when they go to work. You go to work, and whether you work from 8 o'clock till 5 or 8 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night, it doesn't matter. When you trade that time, you trade it for money. Now, I like to be fulfilled and I want to be happy, and I would never trade my happiness for money. But when I go to work, I do leave the house, and when I leave the house, I am going to work to earn money. So how much money are you worth? When you're trading your time, how much do you want to be worth? That's probably the biggest question that everyone has to ask themselves. And if you think about how much money you're worth right now, do you think you could be worth twice as much in the same amount of time? 3 times as much? What about 10 times as much? Well, as I start, I'm going to go back to when I was 18 years old, and I will share with you that the times in my life when I was learning, when I was progressing, are the times that life has been so good to me, and I've made so much money. It's such a blessing. But I'm going to tell you this, the knowledge, learning it, I've been in this business for so long, I don't see anyone teaching anything that allows them to really change the game in their life, okay? You can go over the road to the sale with somebody. I think that's important. Gosh, that's the foundation of the house. But a lot of people get the foundation, they just never get to build the house. You see, I want you to think about where you're at right now. If you're in the car business, and you've been in the car business for over a month, I want you to imagine we're having a sales meeting right now. If I was to sit you down in the middle of the room in a chair, and I was gonna say, hey, I'm gonna run 4 objections by you. These are the objections that salesmen hear every day of their life. You're gonna need to know how to overcome these. Could you overcome them, and do you feel confident that you have the skill set to do it, and do it with pure confidence? And do it great, and to do it in your sleep. 1, the payment's too high. We hear it every day. 2, the price is too high. We hear it every day. 3, I want more for my trade, and 4, I need to think about it. I start out with those 4 things every time I meet somebody. Listen, I've got 50 word tracks I can teach you. 50, and I'm gonna teach them to you. How much? It's free, I don't care. You see, there's something in my life now after 20 plus years, I've been blessed. I am very grateful, and I wanna teach you everything I know. And what you do when someone teaches you everything they know, guess what? You take in what you can use, and what you can't use, let it go back out. It's okay. Listen, there's nothing that I'm going to teach you that will work 100% of the time. They don't make that. But what I will teach you, 7 out of 10 it'll work. 5 out of 10 it'll work. And that sure beats the heck out of right now going out there, shaking somebody's hand, feeling like you don't have the skill set to advance yourself, feeling unconfident that you can't make a consistent paycheck every single month. And I mentioned progress and growth. When the best times in my life, that's what happened. You're not having any progress and growth. Once we start training, you're gonna go through the roof, literally. Now, when I say this, are you gonna have to role play? Yes. Are you gonna have to practice and rehearse and find someone to be your partner to role play with? Yes. Or flip your phone backward, video record yourself, and talk to yourself while you're doing it. But you're gonna have to train like no other. But the results are unbelievable. There's something in this business called the 5%ers, the 1%ers. They're basically the rare people in this world that truly self-invest in themselves, that want a better life. And you know what? They're not handed it by a mom or a dad or a grandpa or a grandma. That's wonderful. Somebody has allowed you to start a business and gives you $100 grand to go do it. But when I started, I didn't even have a car. I was 18. I barely graduated high school. I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't a salesman. I didn't look like a salesman. I was a normal person. You see, salesmen are made, they're not born. So with that being said, it's one brick at a time until you get built. At 18 years old, when I started at a car dealership, I had a manager, who's one of my best friend's older brother, hired me. And he gave me a ride to work at 7 a.m. in the morning. I opened the gates to the car dealership. He was a manager there. At night, about 11 o'clock, 11:30, midnight when he left, I would shut the gates and he'd give me a ride home. Well, because he loved to work and he was driven, he worked 6 days a week. Now, the whole way that we drove to work, 45 minutes, what we did that entire time is he role played with me. I'm so grateful for him. You have no idea. That gave me an hour and a half a day just in commute time on training. My mindset was such in a good place when I got to work. I was on fire. Even though the veterans had been there 10, 15 years, I had such a fire in my belly because of the knowledge that I was given and him working with me. And yeah, sure, nothing's perfect. He wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect. But the stuff that he taught me, it allowed me to go into the marketplace and use it right away, knowing nothing, and I changed my life. Did I become a millionaire overnight? No. Did I make $100,000 my first month? No. You know what I did? I made $2,500 my first month. And I'm going to tell you this, not having a car, when I sold a car my very first day, I was like, man, I'm going to make it in this business. And I'm going to tell you, just like some of you are like, man, I can make it in this business. All you have to do is have the confidence. A lot of people are going to tell you you can't, but you've got to stay in it. And what I'll tell you is, if you follow us, we will lead you to water for sure. I will show you 50 word tracks. I'll go over all of them with you. I will make sure that anytime somebody has an objection, right, we'll know how to overcome it. And we'll do it with confidence till we get it down. I'll go over the basics of the road to the sale to make sure that you understand every step properly so you're not shortcutting anything. But I will tell you though, those veterans that try to run me off, that had been there 10, 15 years, that were all making 10 grand a month, guess what? After a year, they were worried. It takes time to build a skill set. I made a good living. I got myself up making 5 grand a month, 6 grand a month, 7 grand a month. By my third year, I was making 15 to 20 grand a month. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, that was a long time ago when there was a great salesman everywhere. Gosh, it seemed like you'd walk in the store and, man, everybody was selling 20, 30 cars. I go into stores now and guess what? Most people are selling 10. Now, what that tells me, again, going back to this is the era to sell cars in, is that everyone's asleep at the wheel. All of your competition at all these other dealerships are asleep at the wheel. So what happens? As that customer cycles through, whether it's the internet or driving in, or it doesn't matter, as they cycle through your store, when they meet you and you're different and you don't sound like them, it's lights out. They will buy from you. It's the salesman's job to give the customer reasons and excuses why they should buy, right? That's our job. I'm going to give them all to you. Now, if you're great at sales and you know everything, that's amazing. But would you agree you can still learn? Again, progress. If you have a marriage, could you have a better marriage? Yeah. What about being a dad? Could you be a better father? Sure. What about working? Can you make more money? The time that you trade for money at your work Could you make twice as much? If the answer is yes, then you want to follow us. And every day I'm going to come up with short videos, 4 or 5 minute videos, going over everything in the world. And if there's something that I haven't came up with yet and gone over with you, what I want you to do is email us, and we're going to get right back with you, and we're going to make a video for that. I'm going to tell you this. It's free. It costs you nothing. And people don't give things for free, but I'm in a grateful place in life where I want to serve other salesmen who want to make their family unbelievable, that want to aim for the stars, that want to change their life. Like I said, at 18, I rode with my manager to work. I did that for a year. I got myself a car, obviously, after 3 or 4 months. But I'm going to tell you this. I opened my first bank account. As I trained, they offered me the management job after the first year. I said, no ways, ain't happening. I want to be the best salesman in the world. Now remember, I'm 18, 19 years old. I still have the mentality of a kid. So I'm going to tell you this. I wouldn't have grown up, all right? Had I gotten in when I was in my 30s, I would have done twice as good, and I'm going to get to that. But now that I'm 18 years old, I was still young and wild. But making 10 grand a month as a young and wild kid after 1 year in the business, listen, I'm going to tell you this. With my manager training, he took me there, and he wasn't even the best, okay? If you want to be the best, you've got to learn from the best. And I'm not better than anybody, but I have information that I want to share that works for me all the time. And I'm going to get to how I've trained in an entire store for years. And that store, everybody's crushing it and killing it. And you can do the same. Most of the time, management's too busy to train you. It's nothing to be mad at them about. They got a big job to do. But I'm going to tell you this, you've got a big job to do too. And there's a big reward at the end. So after I trained myself and I learned, after about 3 or 4 years, they convinced me to get into management. I'll fast forward through about 7 years of management, which I'm grateful for getting in. But I'm going to tell you, when I got into management, I learned so many other things, but I stopped selling. I was closing car deals left and right, but I stopped learning the sales game. I was stuck in a rut because I was so busy all the time, I couldn't get to it. As salesmen, we do have free time. A lot of times your managers don't, okay? Especially if you're in a busy store. If you're in a smaller store, they should have time to train. But I'm going to tell you this. After about 7 years of management, I got out. Now I'm going to tell you this. I'm fast forwarding my life to 28, 29 years old. I'd made a lot of money my whole life. I met my wife. I've let a lot of money fall through my fingers. Why? Because I made bad decisions with it. But I was really good at sales. But in management, I grew stagnant. Was I the best manager in the store? Sure. But the deal is I lost my edge. I decided I wanted to get out of management and go back to sales. So I told my wife, here I am almost 30 years old. I want to take everything that I've thought about in life and what I've learned, and I want to forget about it. I want to start fresh. And I went after it. And when I started at a dealership that top guys were selling 10, 20, 25 cars, my first month after training, every morning I got up for 2 hours in the morning, I would train. Blank sheets of paper, take a pen, I would write down like, this customer's trading in this, they're buying this, they don't have any money down, I need $1,000 down, I need to be a $200 payment higher. I would just work on different negotiation tactics, how to get there, how to find my way in. I spent time and invested myself. While everyone else was sleeping, I was grinding it. My first month, I sold 40 cars there at the store. My second month, 50. I sold 50 to 60 cars for 2 years straight. Now, I want to tell you this. When I was 18, 19, 20, 21 selling cars, the most cars I ever sold was 25. How do I come out at 28 years old and bust out of the gate selling 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and then keep moving up? How does that happen? I'm going to tell you, because I wanted it more. I had a wife. I had a kid. I had two more kids. I have 3 kids now, but I had another kid on the way. I was ready to take it, but I'm going to tell you this. All of the things that I learned when I was selling, every negotiation strategy, which I learned, if you guys watch any of the sales training videos that I put out maybe 5 years ago, guess what? Guys, that was something I dropped on the internet, right? We decided to put something out there to help people. I'm going to tell you, there's guys that have picked up just enough from those videos that now they're running stores and they're making 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand a year. And I'm going to share this with you. What we're about to go through, we're going to go into a whole nother era while everyone's asleep at the wheel, and I want to train the best salesmen out there. You don't need your management to train you. If they got something to teach you, that's wonderful. But what you'll learn from me will be enough to make you a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year person. You may end up being the GM of your company in 2 years because of what I teach you. Why? Because you'll teach it to your salesman. You see, the guy that owns the salesman owns a store. And what I learned is, after I was selling for 50 to 60 cars for 2 years, was I wanted to get out and do training, and I did. I did it for 2 years, and I traveled around and I trained, and I enjoyed it. And there's nothing like meeting a guy that's making $3,000 a month and then seeing him make 10 to 15 grand a month 4 or 5 months later. There's nothing like it. The same's gonna happen with you. And if you're making 10, 15 grand now, why not make 30? Why may not you make 40 grand or 50 grand? You can do it. I've made over $1 million in a year before. And I was a guy that made straight D's in school. I'm gonna share this with you, okay? If you take this and this long video and there isn't any training, but you buy in and you say, I'm all in, you share the knowledge with me, I'll execute. I'm gonna tell you, when I got back out of training and they offered me so much money that I couldn't say no to GM a company and take it over, the first thing that I did was I started building me a sales team. I hired people that have never sold cars before. I didn't want to train old salesmen. I wanted to hire new ones. I took waiters. I took people that were working in the mall. I took anybody that had a fire in their belly and that wanted to make it. And guess what I did? I told them how much they were worth and what they could be worth if, when they traded their time for money, if they would follow and listen and execute the plan and want it, that I teach them. Again, fast forward 5 or 6 years through being a GM, everybody in the store is making 10 grand a month. Every salesman. Now I'm going to share this with you, which this is the biggest blessing of all. Some of them are making 30 to 40 grand a month. Some of these guys, one of the guys that I had is making 30 to 40 grand a month. I hired him out of a battery warehouse. He was selling batteries. You don't have to label yourself who you are. I came from nothing. People that come from nothing end up with the most. It's the truth, but you have to execute and you have to want it. The purpose of this is, as I've stopped being a GM and I've explained to my wife that I've decided I want to get back into training, full swing, full time, what I'm going to do is every day, I'm going to put a new video online. Yeah, you're going to have haters out there. They ain't going to like it. They're going to tell you how to do it. But listen, guys, send me your paycheck stubs, right? Take a picture and email them to me. Let me see how well you're doing. And I'm not saying it's all about money, but it costs money to live. So if you're going to go trade your time for money, here's what I'll tell you. Have the best fulfilled life you can have. Treat your family amazing. Do whatever makes you happy in life. Stay in a beautiful state at all times and be positive. But most importantly, start self-investing right now, daily. Plug in, subscribe to the link below if you're not subscribed with me. My wife, she trains as well. I'll do it most of the time. She's better than me. But the most important thing is women, girls, they're crushing it in this business right now. I ain't never seen anything like it. I'd have never thought that 15 years ago, no disrespect, but right now, if I was a woman, I'd be worth twice as much money. Women are crushing it. So any women that want to get in sales, jump in. I don't care what you do. You're a house mom right now. I got a house mom over at one of the stores that I train. Bottom line is she's making 10 grand a month. She's happier than she's ever been. You know what? Guys, get great. Design your own life. Make more money than you ever imagined. Take care of your family and build your dreams. Execute when I teach you. Subscribe. Once you subscribe, the videos will come. Make sure that you set your alerts on. Thumbs up it if you found something in this video that you liked. And really, really, this is important. This is what I care about. If you're on the other side, you can email me. Elliott, ELLIOTT, group, GROUP, now, NOW, @gmail.com. The Elliott Group now @gmail.com. Email me whatever objection you have, where you're stuck, what you're struggling with. I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, I promise you. And put your phone number in there. If I need to call you, I'll call you. Now, when I say this, do I know everything? No. But I'm going to tell you this. I can take you from here to here, guaranteed. Whatever you're making right now, you can make twice as much in the same amount of time. That's a lot. I can make you 10 times as much. But you're going to have to be willing to execute when I give you the knowledge. Anything you need, guys, contact me. I've given you my email. Subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. We're going to start dropping these videos tomorrow. Thank you.